Hey everyone, Brick City Brown Chick coming at you. And this week's short, I want to talk about being an aging music fan. I'm going to have a long episode coming up in the next few weeks about musicians aging and how people feel about that. But I wanted to talk today from the perspective of a show I saw on Sunday. So I saw a 80s concert that featured Paul Young, Wang Chung, John Waite, and Rick Springfield as the headliner. Now, I've seen Wang Chung before. Wang Chung's always been really good. Paul Young, I've loved since the 80s. I have his first two albums on vinyl. And as I said a couple of weeks ago, my vinyl collection is not that large. Not much of it has survived. So I probably have about 40 albums on vinyl, and he has two of them. And then John Waite, who I'd never seen, and also Rick Springfield, who I'd never seen. By the way, Rick Springfield, just as an aside, at 76 is phenomenal. His voice has aged well. He puts on a great show. He's jumping and moving and dancing, and he's super impressive. So that's what I'm going to say. This episode, I'm talking about the whole experience of getting to a show and then getting into the show. So the night before the show, my husband and I had been out at first Saturday 80s night at this place we go in Baltimore. So come Sunday, we're already tired because we were out dancing the night before, and that only happens once a month. So we're not incredibly active people. We're just not. We have a dog. She gets walked multiple times a day. But right now, that's kind of the extent of it. So it already took a whole lot to get it together on Sunday to get to this show. The show was out at a place in Virginia called Wolf Trap, which is over an hour from where we live, which doesn't sound like a lot, but once you hit your 50s, it's a lot. So we spent Sunday afternoon trying to get ourselves together. We called the pet sitter to come in and do the evening walk with the dog. And so we're out of the house like 4 o'clock, 4:30. The show starts at 7:30. So we go out near to where we need to be, and we're trying to find the Cheesecake Factory, and we went to the wrong place. So we ended up eating dinner at this steakhouse. Okay, it was fine. It was not great, but it was fine. The burgers were good. The sides, not so much. Okay, so we had dinner, back in the car, driving out to Wolf Trap. Now, Wolf Trap is a partnership between, I believe, the state of Virginia and the National Park Service. So the people who greet you when you come there are National Park Service employees, which is a nice change because when we go to other venues around here during the summer, the people doing the parking and the organizing and the leading people in a direction are usually teenagers who clearly don't want to be there and don't appreciate their summer job. So the Park Service employees are definitely a nice change. They're always super helpful. They're always on top of stuff. They got everybody lined up and parked, and we did all that. And so from parking, we probably had a good, I don't know, almost half a mile hike to the actual venue. So, okay, we get to the venue, and I'm already kind of like, okay. So we get there and give them our tickets. We get in, go trekking up the stairs because it's an outdoor amphitheater. And I usually buy tickets in the upper section of the amphitheater just because I'm not balling like a rock star. I don't have the money to sit down in the orchestra. But somehow or other for this show, I bought orchestra seats. So we go the trekking up to the upstairs, and they look at our tickets and they're like, oh, we're sorry, you climbed these stairs for nothing. Actually, you're downstairs in the orchestra. Okay, back down the stairs Down the stairs in the orchestra section. Okay, we finally get to our seats. It's just after 7 o'clock. The roadies are setting up, and I was like, okay, gotta get myself in that headspace now to enjoy the show. The order I was expecting the show to go in, just based on, their popularity in the 80s and all that, was John Waite, Paul Young, Wang Chung, and then, of course, Rick Springfield at the end. But that was the order I expected the first three: John Waite, Paul Young, Wang Chung. That is not what happened. And part of why I wanted to talk about this today is I really want to give a heads up to people who do these types of, let's call them compilation concerts of multiple people or groups. Can you please pay close attention to the order and how this goes? Because you really don't want the act right before the closer to be terrible. That's a good word, terrible. So the actual order was Paul Young was on first, and Paul Young was good. Wang Chung was on next, and Wang Chung was good. And then we got to John Waite. Oh my God. I think my ears are still recovering. First of all, if you know John Waite, you know the song Missing You, you know the song Tears, you know the song Change. John Waite was in the Babies. John Waite was also in an 80s supergroup whose name escapes me right now, but their big song was When I See You Smile. So it's not that John Waite doesn't have a catalog. What it is, though, is that he can no longer hit notes he used to hit. And one of the things with singers as they get older is as their voices change, they need to change the key in which they sing songs. So if a song's key used to be up here, they need to bring it to here or maybe even to here. But they cannot hit those notes anymore. It is extremely painful as a listener. It was not lack of effort on his part. He was really giving it all he had. But as a man in his 60s, he cannot hit the notes that the man he was in his 20s could hit. So it was like nails on a blackboard or somebody scraping chalk. It was really horrendously painful. And my husband is much more sensitive to high frequencies and noises than I am. So when I was listening to John Waite, I would look at my husband and he was just sitting there doing this, like the cringe, the cringe. So, okay, we survived that and we get to Rick Springfield. Okay, this show started at 7:30. By the time Rick Springfield hit the stage, it was probably 10 o'clock. And we probably got through like a good half an hour of Rick Springfield. And like I said, he was great, but we're looking at each other going, oh God, we got to bail. Like we were so, because the other thing is Wolf Trap, the amphitheater holds over 7,000 people. And it was pretty close to a sold out show. And then there's also the lawn seats behind us. There are probably, I don't know, close to 1,000 people on the lawn. So we knew getting out of there, if we stayed for the whole show, was going to be a nightmare. It was probably going to be a couple of hours getting out of the parking lot, and then the hour we had to drive home. So in true middle-aged people fashion, we left the concert early so that we could get out, get home. We got home close to midnight. So that was our adventure out in Virginia this weekend. And it's just so interesting how, as you change mentally and especially physically, you have different reactions to shows. I used to be one of those people who had stayed through the encore. Like I was gonna be there every single second. And my younger self would say, look, I paid for this. I'm gonna have a good time. The soon to be 55 version of myself says, oh my God, I'm exhausted. I gotta go. So things really do change as you get older. If you're currently a millennial or a Gen Z listening to me thinking, that's never gonna be me, just wait. So that is my short topic for this week. I want to thank everybody for listening. If you are not subscribed to the podcast, please do so. And also hit the notification button so you'll know when I upload on a weekly basis. Thank you again, everybody, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.